Hey yo, it's time for the playoffs, we the top of the West. We got the home field advantage, time to play at our best. I'm out at Carson, California, kill a piece on the set. Like Joe Belich, the pistolero, put a hole in the net. Yo got bonito when I dribble like I'm Gabriel Peck. Call me Yamane, got defenders out here breaking their neck. And put a curler past the keeper like I'm Pooch on the left. I'm bringing the skill like paint seal, counter attack. I'll put your sheet on next to Garces to defend in the back. Edwin Serio, que golazo, give him props on the track. I got a vision like I'm Royce when he's giving a pass. Marky Delgado is my boy, helping out where he can. Put up a typo at the park, show the love that we have. Diego Fagundes on the left when we get to the half. Let's make some changes, let Gaston create a play and retract. When in the game we have possession, but we shouldn't relax. Mauricio Cuevas now and never, time to bring up the stats. We gotta show them what we're made of, take a look at the past. The champion's back, the race to save the price that we have. We ain't stopping till we have another cup in our hand. What? Let's go Galaxy, let's go Galaxy, yeah. Vamos Galaxy, let's go Galaxy, let's go Galaxy, yeah. Vamos Galaxy, la cuna galaxiana, es la voz de LA.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans out there, wherever you may be. And I know it's playoff time, and I know we have to talk about some dirty things that happened to the Galaxy the other day. Not the best of times, but that's why we're here with you guys, as always, to get us through group therapy and to see if we cannot see the brighter side of life and the brighter side of things. So that's why we're here today. Today we're going to be reacting to the LA Galaxy's 2-1 away loss in Houston against the Dynamo on Decision Day, Saturday, October 19th, one that ultimately cost the LA Galaxy the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, to the rivals up the 110 freeway, and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. We'll react to the harsh reality that was Decision Day, a very, very rough couple of hours. Talk about if the result is unpalatable, but actually favorable in the end, and look ahead at what's to come in the playoffs. Eso y mucho más les vamos a dar hoy día. Thank you so much for being with us once again, chat. Before we get any further, let me introduce myself. I'm one of your co-hosts, Raul Jalon. You can find my written work at Extra Time Talk, and then you can find me online at El Escudero de LA. Y yo tengo un co-host que, man, this full cosmopolitan. He's always out there jet setting the world. Today, joining us from El Peru, we have my co-host, El Yerno Guapo, El Eterno Perdido, and the most cosmopolitan fool I know, Anandita Kirana. Ananda, man, we were both in different places when this result went down, but how you feeling, man?
Well, immediately I'm exhausted. I've had a long day. Of course, as you said, I'm in Peru. Yeah, I'm dealing with the altitude. So now I get what the Galaxy players feel like when they go to Colorado, places like that, right? I'm still kind of recovering from the last remnants of the altitude, but no, I'm just exhausted. But I mean, I was hoping that this team would give me a little pick-me-up from the other day, and I have to enter like Mad Foo's therapy hour, like someone in the chat was saying. But no, man, we'll get through this together. Like I said, I'm really happy I'm here. I'm glad I made it. You guys have to deal with my shoddy internet today, so apologies for that in advance. But it's group therapy. It's something that I need. I think we need to talk through this as a group together. And we've got you, myself, and chat, and we're gonna go through this. But man, like, I'm just gonna give you my one-word match reaction right away. And it's a painful watch, man. That's my one-word match reaction. It was painful. I was because we were up, I think, well, game kickoff for me was 11 p.m. local time. So it was like close to 1 a.m, and I was like, oh man, we locked up number 1 seed. We locked it up. And then, yeah, ... So, and then Sadfu's mad therapy session began. So there you go, man. That's football.
Sir Alex said football, bloody hell. It obviously wasn't the result that Galaxy fans wanted, but we're gonna go through it all. We're gonna talk about the match, what comes next, but we're happy to be here with all y'all. Exactly. Anthony Martinez says us and I, you and I. Exactly, you and I, man. It's this G's community. us against the world. So anyway, and it kind of felt like everybody kind of wanted to see the Galaxy kind of go down, and I know a couple fan bases out there were very happy about that. Well, obviously, one more than other, but even other fan bases. But yeah, Nanda, you're gonna.
I was gonna say, one only Rusty on chat says it was agonizing. Yeah, I mean, very, very a good synonym for painful. Do you have one, Robert? You to give one right now, or you want me to do my housekeeping first?
No,
and then we'll go back to you.
No, I have one. It was gut punch. It was
that's a good one.
Really a gut punch. It's not the first time that the Galaxy has gone to Houston and lost. Previously it was a shot at the playoffs. RSL took that away from them with literally the last kick of the game. Here, Houston takes the number 1 seed away from them with literally the last kick of the game, and it happened through an XG, Daniel Saris, which makes it that much
typical.
More stick in your craw, right? Somebody said, I don't subscribe to the theory that once a G, always a G. I don't know. I mean, he did celebrate rather vociferously, so I don't know. Like maybe you can take a G card away, but I don't know. Like when you leave a team and you show a little respect, you don't celebrate. But then again, if you don't really care, you celebrate. So there goes your answer. Anyway, yeah, and you can hit some shout outs. Really, just gut punch. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess we'll have to get into this Mad Foods Therapy Hour, but let's get through the housekeeping first, and then we'll go through just a couple of shout outs, but let's just get into the meat and potatoes of this game, man. Speaking of meat and potatoes, I had some amazing meat and potatoes today. Got me hungry again all of a sudden at a random time in the middle of the evening. But anyways, guys, you can always follow, block me, or stalk me at Ananda Galaxiana. And of course, you can find us on all of your socials at Lacuna Galaxiana. And of course, if this is your first time here, well, first of all, I want to say sorry in advance because this is going to be a therapy hour and probably not the best first show to listen to. But
it's very sad.
In all fairness, no. Exactly. Very sad Foods Hour. But no, in all fairness, welcome. And of course, everyone in the chat coming back. We love to see you all. And like I said, they're gonna have this little kumbaya session. Robert has horchata. He's ready to go. And yeah, speaking of horchata, that's one of the best ways you guys can support the show, guys. We have a little horchata fund. You can always buy me or Roberto horchata at buymeacoffee.com.
And we thank you for it. Oh, there goes Ananda's internet. He did say he was going to be dealing with
internet starting to drop. This way, you're gonna. Yeah.
Oh, sorry for talking over you, man. I thought you froze on my end. So,
no.
But anyway, go ahead.
I did. Like I said, you guys have to deal with the shoddy internet today. 4,000 meters up in the air. But anyways, and of course, the other good way is to support the show is to like and subscribe. So all you VPs of likes out there, go ahead and hit that like button, smash it up. Give us a subscribe, guys. That would really, really mean a lot to us. And of course, Roberto, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches, y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de Sad Foods Hours de Lacuna Galaxiana. And yeah, man, let's just get into it.
Yeah, Big Heck, welcome in, and he's dropping his one word off jump. He's saying embarrassing for a team on top of the league. So Anthony Martinez says devastating. And he also says not surprised, but damn. Rauji says, Josh, the Podfather mentioned the ref was a Houston homer. WTF, he's from the suburbs of Houston. Yeah, I did see that. Hammer threw that on his socials just following the match. I can, I haven't done the research on whether he is or he's not, but there's also that out there. So there's a lot to be kind of upset with about this match. The Galaxy's performance notwithstanding. But anyway, like Ananda said, guys, if you want to help this little pod out, you guys can just simply subscribe or like, and we're on the drive to 500. There's been a couple times that people in chat have been like, hey, do you guys have super chat? Well, easiest way for us to get super chat is get to 500 subs. So tell your tia, tell your elotero, tell your ñaña, tell your ñaño, tell everybody, be like, hey,
I like it.
Yeah, I heard this pod, you might like it. Yeah. And anyway, so that would really help us out a lot, and we would love you for it. Yeah, man, it's those one words are spot on, man. There's nothing wrong with any of those. It was a whirlwind of emotions. It took you, but that's decision day, man. It's happened to the Galaxy before, and it won't be the last time. And that which does not kill you makes you stronger. And Vanny said, "Hey, what do you say, Ananda? You've been talking about it.
I'm gonna save it till later. Let's save it till later. But yeah,
okay.
Because he took the words right out of your mouth. Actually, he should have credited you for that saying. But anyways,
okay. Well, I just want it to hurt so it doesn't hurt later. And it did. But guys, if you're here, we really appreciate it. And you know what, we work hard to bring you cool stuff on this pod. I gets no cooler for me than Will Kuntz. He'll be here on the pod on Thursday. It'll be an interesting show, honestly, because it was up until just a couple days ago, Ananda and I were talking about bringing Will on and how awesome it'd be to talk about number one in the West and stuff like that. And now conditions have changed. But it'll also be interesting to see his comments on because we all know how we all saw the game and how we feel. But I mean, obviously Will is just right there with the players, and he'll be able to give us an inside look on just how decision day went down for the team. But anyway, guys, this pod is now on Goals TV. We have shouted out Jose and Goals TV before. This is another pod, another avenue for you guys to check out this pod. Think of it as like another webpage that you guys can access and check out Lacuna Galaxiana. So we have some news already for next year. The Galaxy's first game of the year, per Kevin Baxter, the Galaxy will open the season next year against San Diego FC, either February 22nd or February 23rd at the Digs. So we already have a first opponent for the year for the LA Galaxy, which is San Diego FC. I know all y'all in chat will be there to welcome San Diego FC to the league. These are those moments that you want to be at. I mean, these are those moments that something special always happens. I mean, these are, and any Galaxy fan that is in chat, like I said, is probably going to be there. But yeah, definitely catch that first game of the season. I mean, El Chucky is that marquee signing over there in San Diego FC. And that should be a cracker of a match. So anyway, guys, it wasn't just a rough weekend for the Galaxy, but it was a rough weekend for VCFC, who started their playoff run and ended their playoff run in one fell swoop. It is officially over after a 4-0 thumping against Tacoma Defiance up there at Starfire Sports Complex. We always talk about VCFC. We always bring you updates on this team because there are a lot of depth pieces from the Galaxy first team that play in this team, like Tucker Lepoli, Ruben Ramos Jr., Brady Scott, who was honorable mention for the MLS Next Pro starting 11, and we might see these players come through to the first team. So it's always interesting to see how they handle these kind of situations. But yeah, they went down 4-0. They couldn't get anything going really, and it 3-0 down pretty quick. And yeah, playoffs are over. But it was great to see the Willie roll pop off so many times, and VCFC sent a thank you to the fans and everything like that. But the Willie roll is sure to be popping off next year. So VCFC had a great season. At times they flirted with first place. Ultimately they hit a skid. Israel, cheers, mate. And yeah, they couldn't pick it back up again. But they started really brightly. Like I said, they flirted with first place. But now the season is over, and it seems like the season is really just beginning for the LA Galaxy, who now are in the serious part of the season, the playoffs, after decision day is now done. 34 games up, 34 games down. And when it came down to it, the LA Galaxy were defeated 2-1 on the road by the Houston Dynamo with the final kick of the game. Daniel Saris rises up, beats Maya Yoshida, and Galaxy slipped to second place. The last season finish, like I just said, in second place behind their Western Conference rivals, LAFC, their city rivals. They didn't really get anything going early. They trailed 1-0 at halftime after Houston opened the scoring in the 44th off, you guessed it, all a set piece. Teams continue to expose this set piece defending Ananda. Did you? What did you think? I mean, did you let out like the biggest curse like in the world when you saw it happen?
The set piece, the first goal for Houston.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was just frustrating that it happened at that time. It was right before the first half. We've seen those goals given up. I believe we gave up a very similar goal in Colorado last time out as well, Robert. Just right before the first half. It's one of those ones that you don't want to give up. I mean, honestly, though, just a great delivery. Unfortunately, I think Maya just missed it for the clearance. He's been really good on clearances lately. And honestly, just right place at the right time, man. Right place at the right time. The guy was there, put it in. And again, just from a standpoint of it was the worst time to give up a goal, I think I was more frustrated in that than it was an actual set piece. I will say, too, the Cerrillo foul that led up to that was kind of silly as well. And I think that's one of the areas in his game that he just needs to shore up. It's a mental thing, right? And that just comes with experience and reps. So I think it's just frustrating when it happened right before the end of the first half, especially when you're on the road, right? You need as much momentum as you can.
Yeah, man. And unfortunately, they didn't get the equalizer in the first half. They go into the half down 1-0, but they come out on fire like they have come a couple of times this season. And Joseph Paintsil scores a peach of a goal to tie it up 1-1 in the 48th minute. Or does he? So this goal was ruled out for a foul by Maya Yoshida in the build-up. Ananda, I mean, I saw this so many times. I mean, this has got to be like the weakest foul or callback in the world, man. I mean, like, why? 3 passes had already happened, so I mean, this one is tough to take, especially after they go and look at it.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Oh man. Yeah, we'll get to that.
You are so zen right now. Thank God a couple of days have passed because, like I said, I've seen this one back a bunch of times. But the Galaxy labored through this 1-0, and you know, time is running out, and then Ricky Puig gets brought down to the box. He gets a penalty. Gabriel Pecci steps up, converts, becomes LA Galaxy leading scorer in the regular season with the 16 goals. I mean, continues to light it up. Scores for his 5th game straight, and now has 6 and 6. So you think at this point, hey,
yeah,
they're gonna get it done, right? It's there.
Yeah.
You know,
I even said it to the two people that were in with me in the room, half asleep. Hey, we got first place, and not.
See, I knew that. I was like, okay, cool, they got it, but like I was watching this with more than just a little like trepidation, right? I was saying to myself, they need to be intelligent and keep the ball. Like the best way to you know, not get scored on right now is keeping the ball, like just. And then they started kicking, just clearing, right? Just, and I once they started clearing, I saw like the writing on the wall. I was like, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to hang on for them, and they did not. Daniel Steres heads home the game-winning goal in the 11th minute of stoppage time to win for Houston. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened because of it. Like you guys already know the Galaxy slipped down to second place. Columbus overtakes them. So now if Galaxy make MLS Cup and they play Columbus, Galaxy have traveled to Columbus, a very difficult place to go. Also, result means that Galaxy go winless in Texas, Ananda, in 2024. You and I were
crazy.
We were there. We were there in Austin.
Crazy stuff.
Dallas was a very, very poor match for the Galaxy. And they struggled against Houston as well. So it was a rough one. Independently of all the calls, which we'll get to, the Galaxy just didn't play their best match. And they picked a terrible time to play that match, right? So, but let's look at it. Yeah. Let's look at how it happened, right? Let's look at the starting lineup. What'd you think? Any surprises for you?
Yeah, I was gonna acknowledge this comment from It's Chris. He was in the stands and he was saying this was brutal to watch live. It hurt all of us. I can imagine, man. That was a painful watch, even from 3,000 miles away or however many miles away I was. And yeah, it was painful for all of us. But what way to represent out there? I think Raul G is saying the same sentiments. But yeah, starting lineup. I mean, couple of interesting calls, right, Rob? So first thing is Julian Aude slots back in left back. He displaces John Nelson, who's been pretty solid. We've called him the Rock. Nag boys have called him the Rock on that left-hand side. So that was a little bit of a surprise. Royce in the starting lineup. I actually had a feeling he was going to start. I said that in the pregame preview, and he did start alongside Puig and Cerrillo. I think the biggest shock, though, for me, Robert, and I mean, maybe mind games from Vanny, or maybe I don't know. Like it didn't occur to me those comments made by Vanny in the presser pre-match. But JP pass fit to even start this game, right?
He's not really a mind game type coach. He's very transparent, Greg Vanny. I mean, I was expecting him to get the nod. If he passed fit, and he started. And
yeah,
I mean, if not for the officiating, which again we'll get to in a moment, he would have scored a peach of a goal. But yeah, man, it was a surprise for me as well that Julian got the start over John Nelson. Not so much of a surprise for me that Joseph Paint still played a part. Like I said, I knew that if he was fit, he would play. But yeah, Julian was definitely a surprise. What do you think?
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, I was about to ask you. No, I was about to ask you exactly that.
I thought his 60 minutes was really productive. I thought he looked good on the left-hand side. He adds a little bit of attacking dynamism that I don't think John Nelson adds, and that's not a knock on John Nelson. It's the difference in both of the players, right? And the one thing I really like about Julian is he has a really, really good forward pass, and I've been talking about this, and this is like a nuanced thing with JP, which is I like him making that outside to in run, because when he has his first touch, we saw it in a couple of chances in the first half. He doesn't need to cut back in versus an in to out pass. So a left footer makes that pass a lot easier. And we saw Julian make a really nice pass out from the outside, and JP was in. He just had to take a first touch forward, and he was already in. He's already beat the last man, right? The defender. So I like Julian being in that starting lineup. I think it gives Greg a lot of attacking versatility. Alex and I have talked to in our Los GATACTICOS series about we're pretty right-sided heavy, Rob. I think over 40% of our attacks come from the right side. So I think this is good now, kind of sort of seeing JP and Julian back in that lineup to see if we can just vary up the attack. You know, we need to, especially in the playoffs, we need to keep our opponents guessing, right? So that was a positive 60 minutes, I think, for me, for Julian.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing is like we've mentioned, is that there's no drop off with John Nelson. I mean, they're different players, but there's not a drop off in quality. So yeah, like I said, surprise to me. But Julian did very well in his return. So a couple match stats from this one. Going into this one, Gabriel Peck and Ricky Puig both had 29 goal contributions. No team in MLS history has had two players contribute 30 goal contributions in a single season. In the match, Gabriel Peck reached 30. Unfortunately, Ricky Puig did not contribute a goal or an assist. so they did not reach it. But the Galaxy game super close one other time as well. Robbie Keane and then Donovan were the only pair of teammates previously to get close. Also, of course, for your LA Galaxy in 2014. Goalkeeper John McCarthy made his 99th start and 100th appearance in a Major League regular season game. And Ricky Puig, like I mentioned about Gabriel Peck, finishing the season with 16 goals and being the leader for the Galaxy. Ricky Puig finishes with the most assists for the Galaxy, also with 16. The Galaxy themselves finished third in MLS in goals scored, 69, behind Inter Miami and the Columbus Crew. Ananda, we talked about Joseph Painsil and the peach of a goal he scored. There were some moments of JP. Why would you have done that? I probably wouldn't advise that. But there's a lot of positives to take from this performance. What did you see from him in this one?
Yeah, I liked it. I know Marvin, I think, said in the chat that he was kind of indifferent about his performance. I think he is. Let's put it this way, Rob. I think he's someone that we need to come back as a threat, right? Like I said, we can't be so one-dimensional with all our attacks coming from the right side with Gabi Peck and that sort of triangle that he and Ricky Puig and Mickey Amane when he slots in there, when he tucks in or goes around the outside, right? So I feel like he needs to be a threat on that left-hand side. Look, he had two very early counterattack chances, and that for me is a positive, right? He had one that was fingertip save by we talked about it, the keeper, God, it's so late in here. Wait, remind me his name. Steve Clark. There you go. Fingertip save from Steve Clark. And then he had another one, like I said, from that outside the ball, outside the sort of the line ball from Julian there, and he hit him in stride. So, I mean, look, his stats weren't that bad. He had 3 shots, Robert. 2 of them were on target. We've talked about JP sort of missing sitters and not hitting the target. I mean, he had 2 of them on target. One of them was blocked, and that was the one that was on the counter attack chance. Like I said, he always offered a threat in and behind, and that's what you want to see from JP. When you ask him to play tiki-taka and build up, I don't think he's great as that. He's best in semi-transition and transition. And so I thought he had I would say a bounce back game. And if that goal would have stood, he definitely would have had a bounce back game. What a cracker of a goal. That's a guy that's not lacking in confidence. That's a goal, upper 90. He hit the upper V. That's a goal from a guy that has confidence. And man, he took that goal really, really well.
Oh yeah, it was a cracker of a goal, man. It was what you want to see out of him.
Peach.
You want to see him being decisive and taking that space and letting it rip, man. I mean, he has a quality and he showed it. And of course, there's a lot of questions about whether this goal should have stood or not. Of course, if you're a Galaxy fan, you will always be in the camp that it should have stood. There is a lot to be troubled with on this goal not being allowed. Ananda, I've already made my feelings clear. Well, what do you think? I mean, is you saw the play? It gets called back for a Maya foul or not foul, depending on who you ask. On Bassi, and Galaxy 3 passes later, get it to JP. He scores the peach of the goal, but again, it gets called back. But I'd be interested to see what you think, because I'm saying. This goal has got to stand.
Well, I just flashed it on the screen there, Rob. This year, the Galaxy have battled elements, altitude, weather, and pro refs, right? All the elements into one. And I mean, Rob, even just let's take a step back for a second. We've been botched by calls all season. You think of the first game of the season, that phantom red card on Marco Delgado on Busquets, right? You think about the Boanga dive in the first El Trafico with Mickey Amane getting a pretty harsh, I think, penalty call, right? That could have been gone either way, but we've seen a lot of botched calls this year. So this doesn't surprise me, I guess. And I think something coming into the playoffs, we need to, I think not we, but just the team and Vanny, they need to be cognizant of this and how the refs are going to manage and call their games, right? But yeah, that call in particular, I think the Maya one, I think that was silly. I looked at that play 3 or 4 times. He got the ball first. I don't know what the ref was seeing. And I guess to have the verve to overturn that call, right? It was ridiculous. The calls on the field, it takes a lot to overturn a call, right? And I didn't see it. It was silly. And then on top of that, think about like the first 6 minutes, there was 5 fouls called on Houston, and none of them got carded, right? No yellow cards. They ended up the game. They finished the match, which I'll get to the match stats later, but they finished the match with 2 yellow cards. And dude, for all the quote unquote tactical fouls that they did with 2 yellow cards, that's really silly. And then don't even get me started about the extra time, Bo. Don't even get me started about the extra time. I mean,
the 11 minutes of extra
plus the 11, 12, however minutes you want. I mean, what is this? Like, this is just ridiculous, right? So, yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you.
Well, I kind of understand the injury time, right? Because there's the check on VAR for the penalty. So of course you're going to get a couple minutes, right? So I would have understood if maybe, he called 7 and he went to like 9 or like 9.5 or maybe even 10, but you're going in to 11 minutes. You're going into 4 minutes. So, I mean, the math ain't mathing. But Marvin G says out there, got to make the chances early on though. So these bad calls won't affect the game as much. That's exactly what I said at the top. So Marvin, independently of the calls, they just didn't have a great game. You got to take your chances, and you got to perform. You got to execute.
Can I make a constructive counterpoint to that though? But when the margins are so razor thin, we've talked about it against teams like Miami, Columbus, LAFC, teams that we're competing with. When the margins are that thin, you need some of those to go your way, right? And it is what it is. So I could argue for that either way. Because again, it ended up being a 2-1 game, right? This could have easily been a 2-2, 3-2
right
game. So
right, but in the playoffs, it's we talking about playoffs. It's not going to matter. I mean, it's not going to matter because at the end of the day, the ref is going to make the call, and they have to rise above those outside variables, right? In MLS Cup, if they make MLS Cup, you really think whichever referee is calling MLS is not going to be influenced by the fact that potentially Leo Messi is going to be on the field? Of course. It's kind of like back in the day, Jordan would get calls that other players wouldn't get, I mean, and so the Galaxy just have to learn how to deal with these things. And that's just one other thing that they're going to have to say, like, yeah, we beat this team, and bad officiating, because unfortunately these things just aren't going their way this year. And so they're going to have to learn how to rise above and still win with just one other thing against them. And just, I hope that they're taking these things, I hope that they're remembering all these things, because these things that keep on happening, the Miami thing, the Denny Bouanga dive that you mentioned, they all should be hurting you so that later you can get better from it and rise above. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Vanny was kind of biting an idea. Well, he said it in the presser. This one today hurt. It hurt us and it cost us first place. But the next one like that will cost us our season. And it really goes back to what we've been saying all year, man. Like when you lose, don't lose the lesson. And all these things should be hurting them, but apparently they're not. Learning the lesson from them.
I guess in hindsight, Robert, like, and this is for chat too, are you guys happy, guys and gals, of course, are you happy that these last 2 games sort of turned out this way? So Austin, the way it ended, the sort of playoff atmosphere, the harsh challenges, the red cards, etc. And then this, right? Kind of a, I think Alex Ruiz said it in his article, kind of a wake-up call, a humbling of sorts. I mean, you guys, in retrospect, in hindsight, are you guys happy, like, it kind of turned out this way? Of course, we'll never know. We'll have to know what the final result is at the end of the season if we're lifting that 6 MLS Cup, right? But I don't know, man. I like this don't lose the lesson thing. I'm more on the side of, I'm kind of glad things sort of shook up the way they did, because I think coming into the playoffs, I think these are teachable moments, and I like that, maybe because I like that sort of teachable moment thing. I like sort of the continuous sort of growth and maturity of this team. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of, not that I wanted it to happen this way, but I'm kind of glad things happened the way they did, because now we go in the playoffs with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder and something to prove.
A chip on our shoulder and hopefully a wake up call. I mean, it's not for nothing that these 2 goals were scored on the Galaxy the same way that they've been scored on all year, in transition, with whipped crosses in from the wing, or on a set piece. They've given up a lot of goals that way. I actually was hoping that they'd get a shutout in this one, go into the playoffs on a defensive high. Unfortunately, they did not. They got exposed for the same old things that they've gotten exposed for before. One shutout since June, Ananda, is difficult to take. And the rough part is that they have the quality to get these shutouts, and they're repeated errors. So I mean, it's just tough to take at this point.
Yeah, some interesting points in chat, Rob. XPH, thanks for dropping in the chat. He says, as frustrating and upsetting as last night was, all the drop points during the season and all the set piece goals finally caught up. Yeah, that's true. I kind of see it more as a journey, though, XPH. I feel like we had to go through those things. Remember, this is year one of a rebuild. Let's not forget the context of this, guys. This is year one of a rebuild of a brand new team. Remember, if you think about who was on the team in the last time we were in the playoffs and lost that 2022 conference semifinal against LAFC, I believe only 5 players on this current team was on that roster. So let's put things in a little bit of a context. But yeah, I totally agree, XPH. In the end, those little drop points did sort of catch up to us. And then one only Rocio says, I mentioned us on Thursday about how they need to stay level-headed. They get into their own head with these bad calls, which I understand. We need a more effective way of dealing with this. Again, that just goes to the growth and maturity of this team.
Yeah, Big Arc says it as well, man. He says they have to realize the ref is the 12th man on the field, have to score as many goals at any cost, can't leave anything up to chance. Big Arc, what's up? I don't know if you were with us at the top of the show, but we spun that new playoff track. Thank you once again for that one, Big Arc. Arquitecto, duo language in the house. Guys, yeah, so we were talking about it. The job isn't done, and it needs to get done. And there's things like the 12th man, a.k.a. Pro refs, that are going to get in the way. And there's, again, when the Galaxy lost to the first seed, there was a lot of people that celebrated this, a lot of people that reveled in the downfall. And so they're just going to have to rise above that as well. La Inca Cola, así me gusta.
Like that, huh?
Yeah, there we go.
When in Rome.
Exactly. So this one goes for chat. Did the loss change your expectations for the playoffs for this team? Do you guys feel like this team is ready? I mean, didn't really change that much for me. We already knew all these things that happened. You know, we already knew that the set piece defending was suspect. We knew that they were vulnerable at times. And so for me, not that much change. But chat, for you, did it change your expectations for the Galaxy in the playoffs? Do you think now, chat, Galaxy make the MLS Cup final? Do they win MLS Cup? Let us know in the chat. Drop them. Let us know what's good. Ananda, do you have a moment of the match?
Really quick, before I get to the moment of the match, a couple things, Rob. So I do want to get through just the final box score just to see, because it's interesting. When I looked at the final stats, it kind of backed up what I saw in this game. And honestly, it left me feeling like, yeah, we did lose this game, but there was some positives to take out of this game. So really quick, and then, by the way, chat's sounding off. So we're going to get back to those comments as well, Rob, before we get to the moment of the match. So guys, I pulled up the box score here, and this is the one from Fatma that I always pull up. But the fact that we didn't have more of the possession, I think, shouldn't come as a surprise. We talked about it coming into this game. Vanny talked about it coming into this game. We're playing in Houston. We're playing away. He actually expected us to concede more possession. So you see there, 53% possession for the Houston Dynamo, 47% for the LA Galaxy. But Rob, from that 47%, we created over an XG more than they did. We had 2.24 XG versus their 0.92. So again, we've talked about just our offense at least creating those chances, but this is where it comes down to it, Rob. We had 4 big chances. So check this out. Same total shots, same shots on target. We had 4 big chances. Unfortunately, we missed 3 of them. Now, granted, 2 of the missed chances, if you remember that crazy sequence, I believe there was a Marco Royce sort of left-footed shot. I think it was a save or I think it was a block. And then the second attempt was blocked. So those are 2 point-blank chances that, man, on another day, that those go in, right? But, I mean, it is what it is. That's football. And I think that was the difference. But Rob, I mean, looking at the possession stat and how many chances we created out of that means we're still an effective team, right? We're still a good team. But this is the thing. This is sort of the minutia coming in the playoffs. And this is what we got to tighten up. And this is like the thing that I said for the Galaxy to win, we must. And I talked about us being more effective in transition. We had so many transition moments in the first half, especially. And in the second half with Ricky, I remember there was one there a guy kind of nudged him and he shot off to the right. There's a couple of those JP chances. Gabriel Peck as well. I thought he was going to score an absolute golazo, like doing step overs and beating 4 men, but he just couldn't get that last shot off. In the past, in the last few games, we finished those chances off. So it's like, how efficient can we be in the playoffs? That's a bit of a question mark, right? Because we don't know what this team looks like in the playoffs yet. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, the stats actually gave me a little cause for optimism, a little hope, because in that we had less possession, but we still created chances, man. One more XG than the other team. We just couldn't finish them, unfortunately.
Again, something that we already knew. This team makes chances.
Yeah.
Most of the year they've been effective at finishing. Fortunately, against Houston, they weren't. And that ultimately was the downfall.
Yeah, let's read some of these to your earlier question though. So Anthony Martinez,
no, I can't read. Come on.
ESL. Same expectations, championship or bust. Hey man, this is sort of the foundations that this team was built on, right? With the 5 MLS Cups. So there we go. Let's see who else. Let's see. Yeah, he even says time for ring number 6 to be out of the collection. Let's see. Let's see what Big Arc has to say. So he says, okay, how about this? In playoffs, if we go to penalties, do we win? We don't have the best. This is interesting. This is really interesting. Sorry, I'm going to finish the comment. We don't have the best penalties taker, so we can't even tie. We have to win or tough. I want to go back to the penalties point. How many of you guys were nervous? Well, number one, who was going to take the penalty? And number two, if we were going to bury that penalty. Exactly.
I didn't watch it. Like I saw the run up and then I just turned my head and I just couldn't do it. The nerves. Like I honestly, like you mentioned, you know how the players feel playing at altitude. I wasn't taking this penalty and I was nervous as all hell. So I can imagine how. Yeah,
Matt was with you too. He said, "Bro, I left the room for that PK."
Yeah, I can imagine how Gabriel Pecky felt. But you know what? Gabriel Pecky was probably like, the Lord is with me, and he stepped up and he took it with aplomb and he buried it. And that for me was the moment of the match. It should have been anyway. Gabriel Peck's goal should have been enough to see the Galaxy through to the number 1 seed. Unfortunately, it was not to be. Tough to take, but like I said, gut punch. But we did have a couple of defending the badge candidates: Ananda, Ricky Puig, Gabriel Pecky, Joseph Paintsill, Emiro Garces, and we had this one was kind of close again. But who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You know what? I'm gonna kind of give it to, let's see. I'm probably gonna give it to Peck. I mean, he was a little quieter than I thought he was. But boy, did Emilio Garces have an amazing game, man. What a game that he had. I think it goes sort of under the radar in a little bit, but he had a lot of recovery challenges. But yeah, I think it's going to be Gabriel Peck for me. I'm just going to keep it simple, man, because he's the guy that always unlocks things. Credit to him, by the way, of stepping up and bearing that penalty. He looked very, very confident. I guess no standout performances. I guess if 1A would be Peck for me and 1B would be Garces. Like I said, Garces has been an absolute monster back there, especially on those recovery challenges and tackles.
Yeah, I mean, no disagreement. Massive mentality and massive heart to step up and take that penalty, especially when the Galaxy have had difficulties there. He had missed one already, I believe, earlier in the season. So it was massive. Like I said, massive mentality to step up and take that. And you all thought so as well. After 92 million votes out there in Galaxylandia, Gabriel Pecky is your defending the badge winner. I think, Ananda, that Gabriel Peck actually wins the most for the regular season. We'll go ahead and confirm that with you guys by next pod. When we hang out with a little guy named Will Kuntz. LA Galaxy general manager.
He's definitely not little. Definitely not little.
Well, no,
he's taller than both of us
definitely
combined.
not. Yeah, no. Oh no, he's a tall man for sure. I was reading some interesting Woku's facts today, Ananda, which I'll be happy to share with you on Thursday. But yeah. So anyway, guys, where does that leave the Galaxy after that 2-1 heartbreaking loss on decision day? After 34 matches, they wind up with a 19-8-7 record, 69 goals for, 50 goals against, 17 goals less conceded than last year, but ultimately it was one more than they could afford to give up as they lose out on the number 1 seed in the West by goal difference of 1 goal. They end up with 64 points or 1.88 points per game, second place in the Western Conference standings after being in the driver's seat for much of the late half of the season. Final Supporters Shield standings, Miami ends up in first with 74, Columbus with 66, and both LA teams with 64, LAFC in third, LA Galaxy in fourth. And like I mentioned, Columbus won on the final match day to leapfrog the Galaxy. Not an easy place to go play, Columbus. So it is what it is. I mean, Columbus got it done on decision day. The LA Galaxy did not. But Ananda, you kind of mentioned that Profe Alex, was talking about his thoughts on the match. I also read the same Profe Alex article. Shout out Profe Alex.
Shout out.
Really, if you're not checking out Alex RUIZ content, and you're a Galaxy fan, you're just doing yourself a disservice. Go ahead and check him out. But yeah, I mean, it's been said that even though this was a tough loss to take, it's actually a blessing in disguise. That this is the better side of the bracket now that the Galaxy are on. So let's take a look at the playoff bracket. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's interesting, right? On paper, he's not wrong. And I think I've seen a lot of people say the same thing. I mean, you go up against a Colorado team that looks like they're going to have a injured Georgi Mihailovic, or maybe not 100%. I don't think Zach Steffen looks like he's going to play that game either. So you've got a lot of missing pieces. And I believe they come into this losing their last four games in a row, Robert, including the loss to us, right, in their place. And then you look at if we advance against Colorado, I mean, you have an RSL team that we beat earlier this year on the road, right? And that just isn't looking like the same RSL team as earlier in the season, especially with Chicho Arango firing. And then, of course, a Minnesota team, you never know what you're going to get with Minnesota, but you would expect at home for the LA Galaxy to dispatch them, right? Versus the other side of the draw, I mean, you're looking at teams like Seattle, Houston that we just lost to, and even the first round. I mean, Portland wins that, and by the way, they're gonna have to play that game in Portland for a scheduling conflict, right, at Vancouver Stadium, that's a wild story in and of itself. I mean, that's not an easy game, man. That's not an easy game against a MVP caliber candidate in Evander. I know Portland's gonna have to come up to BMO Stadium, but that's not easy. So yeah, on paper it is, but I'm gonna get your thoughts, because I do have an overall thought on this, but I don't. Let's put it this way, like, I've seen this happen in other competitions, like in other leagues and stuff, and it's like you got to be careful what you wish for sometimes, and you can't play the game on paper. Soccer's not played on paper. It's played when you cross the white lines with 11 men on the pitch, right? And that's the thing that we have to be careful of. I see a lot of that juju being spread in the Twitterverse, and I get it. I think we're trying to sort of as fans, like, just make light or make better of the situation, but it's not played on paper, guys. Like, we have to come into this like with a really, really strong mentality. Yes, on paper we should get to the Western Conference Finals, but
you cut off a little bit there at the very end. Can you go ahead and repeat for me? Excuse me.
Oh, I was just gonna say we just have to beat what's in front of us. That's all, and hopefully we don't counteract the juju that we're trying to spread. Like, oh, this is the east side of the bracket. Like, this is a blessing in the skies. Blah blah blah. Like, hold your horses, guys. Let's be careful with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That narrative. Absolutely. Like, it's the the 5 stages of, like, grief or, like, acceptance or whatever that's called. It's like one of those is negotiation. It's like, okay, well, it's actually not that bad. No, like, let's not get it twisted. The Galaxy didn't play a great game against Houston. It's not the end of the world because it's not the playoffs and they weren't eliminated, but they did lose the number 1 seed, which is what Greg Vanney and these players were working for. They said it many times. They wanted home field advantage throughout the entirety of the playoffs. And by their own words, by their own admission, they didn't get it done. That's what they wanted. That's what they were working toward. Be that as it may, on paper, yes, it looks like they have the easier side of the bracket. But again, you have to win these games. It's not enough to say like, hey, it's easier on paper. They have to go out and win these games. But let's look at this first round. Game 1 is on Saturday, October 26th at 8 p.m. 8:10 is actually first kick, and that'll be at the Digs. Game 2 is November 1st at Colorado at 6:30. 6:40 is first kick, and then Game 3, if necessary, happens at the Digs on November 9th, and that one is at 7, and 7:10 is that first kick. Of course, in the first round, the best of 3 series, games can't end in a draw. If tied after 90 minutes, these go to penalty kicks, y'all. So we were talking about these penalty kicks to determine a winner. Well, we might see one of these as soon as Saturday. First team to 2 victories wins the round. So even if it turns out that the Galaxy play Colorado off the map, but they just can't finish their chances, Colorado still has a shot to go into the penalties and steal the match. And they do that twice, and it's over, like Rick Vanney said, So the winner faces either, according to the bracket, the winner faces either Real Salt Lake or Minnesota United. The Galaxy were able to dispatch both those teams earlier in the season. RSL is no joke. Neither is Minnesota United. Again, Ananda said it a little bit earlier. You got to win these matches on paper. You also got to win them on the field, and they win them on the field before, but these teams are good, and playoffs, anything can happen. The Galaxy defeated the Rapids 3-1 in their most recent match against one another on October 2nd in Colorado. And like we said, this is a favorable matchup for the Galaxy, especially because they could be without Jordi Mihailovic and Zach Steffen for the first round. So everything's there for the Galaxy to go ahead and win this first round. But again, they got to execute, and they got to take care of business. And that's what we have for you today, Ananda. Chat. Ananda, do you have anything else to add out there before we get out?
No, I was just going to respond to, I always try to give the last word to chat. And Rocio says it's difficult to dismiss everything that happened. It still hurts. Raul G says, agreed. I mean, guys, it hurts, right? I'm not going to lie. It hurts. But I know we're trying to sort of spin this narrative or get this narrative out there that we are on the better side of the bracket. And it's true. We are. On paper, we definitely are. But a couple things that kind of give me a pause for, I guess, in a positive way, Rob. We've talked about this team's mentality all year. We haven't lost more than 1 game this year. You've talked about, when you talk to Maya about what's the sign of the best team, it's that it's a team that doesn't lose 2 in a row. Right. So I expect this Galaxy, of course, we're going to preview this with you guys on Thursday. And of course, we'll have Will Kuntz on. That'll be really, really exciting for us. I will have way better internet. So don't worry, Rob, and chat. We will be good. But I expect this team to come into that game with a really, really strong mindset. I actually expect this team to close this thing out in 2 games. I think we can do it. And because I feel like the lingering sort of this bad taste in our mouths, the way the season ended, I think is going to push this team in a more positive way. Rob, I remember not this pod, but the last pod that we did, you talked about I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
Am I back? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, you cut out pretty nasty there, right there.
The last of the shoddy internet. So I was going to say, you made a point about how this team picks each other up. The players pick each other up when the chips are down, right? You talked about that. I think Vanney made a point about that. So I expect them to do the same. Like with Maya, for example, he seemed very, very distraught in that post-match press conference. I feel like the other leaders of the team, especially in the back line, I think they are going to pick him up. And yeah, I expect this team to close out Colorado in 2 matches. Like I said, we'll preview it more in detailed, right? And to make sure that tactically and stuff like that, things work out that way. But gut instinct, gut feel coming to this Colorado game, I think us as fans, I think we all should be confident in this team. They've shown it all year that they have a very resilient mentality. They haven't lost 2 in a row. I don't expect the trend to buckle this way. Greg talked about this is not hurting the momentum. I think it's going to reverse the other way, and I think it's going to just make them stronger. So yeah, I feel confident, man, even though it was just a gut punch, like you said, in your one-word match reaction.
Yeah, I expect them to get it done as well. But of course, we will bring you everything you need to know before the LA Galaxy start their playoff push on Saturday. Of course, we'll be with Will Kuntz on Thursday, October 24th for that preview. Come hang out with us. Say hello to the chef. Tell him how much you appreciate him. He's done miracles on this team. And yeah, hopefully we see you guys there in chat and see you guys hanging out with us. If you're here, it's because you found us on youtube.com /@Lacuna Galaxiana, and we thank you so much for doing so. We thank you for being in chat. We thank you for listening to these episodes after the fact. We know you could be listening to anything, doing whatever, and you're hanging out with us, and we definitely appreciate it. Until we meet again, which will be a couple of days before the playoffs on Thursday with LA Galaxy General Manager Will Kuntz. One thing left to say. G